Hey everybody, I have an unusual cat that was brutally bit on the face by a rattlesnake. You're going to want to hear this, whether you like cats or not. This is weird. So stick around.
Bewley, the kid.
So before we get to the rattlesnake story, I need to let you know how unusual this cat is and how he came to be. Now, we live in an area in northern Arizona where everything is trying to eat your pet. Small dogs and domestic cats do not survive on the loose out here. There's mountain lion, bobcat, lynx, coyotes everywhere. Coyotes come up to our front door. There's fox, there's raccoons, there's birds of prey. So we don't see a lot of things out here, and things don't last. They get eaten. In fact, some neighbors have seen their pets' bones and fur laying around because that's all that's left. One day we had this black cat appear on the porch. Now, this cat was just a regular looking cat, regular long tail, looked like any cat you've ever seen. And it was kind of skinny, like it hadn't eaten a lot. So it hung around the house and we tolerated it. It started keeping the mice population down. We ended up naming this cat Slim. Now, I tried to catch Slim in a live catch trap so I can take Slim in and get Slim fixed, but Slim had nothing to do with that live catch trap. So uh, we just let Slim be. Now, one day we noticed Slim was pregnant. Now we knew Slim was a female, and I thought, okay, who could the father be? Because all I've been picking up on my trail cameras is bobcats, mostly bobcats coming in. I mean, a lot of other stuff like coyotes and everything, but the only cats we've seen are these bobcats. In fact, we've got a family of bobcats that live on the ridge right above our house. And seasonally, they have kittens up there. And at night, we can hear the bobcats screaming in different places around the house. And it's a really, really unsettling scream. Now, we thought this was weird, but it was about to get weirder. Slim gave birth at our porch to one kitten. Let me repeat, one very large kitten. And it had a bobtail. And we're like, okay, that's pretty weird. It's a big kitten. It had strange fur on it. It wasn't typical. And so I took an interest in this kitten. I thought it's a very unusual. I also love black cats. I've had black cats all my life. And so I really wanted to catch this kitten and see if I can tame it. So I set the live catch trap and I put milk, I put canned food, different things in the trap. And every time this little kitten would get close to the trap, Slim would intercept it and not let it go in. That's how smart Slim was. So one day Slim was out hunting or something, and I took a red gift wrap ribbon and I tied it inside the live catch trap. And it was bouncing in the breeze, and this little ribbon was like this, and the little kitten goes over there and it's like, and it couldn't resist that ribbon and went right in, and I caught the kitten. So I brought the trap inside with the kitten. And at the time, my daughter had a black cat named Pepper, a real gentle female black cat. And she went over to the trap to take a look and see what's going on. And that little kitten saw that black cat and thought, Mom. But that wasn't Mom. We let those two hang out for a little bit. And then after a while, I was able to put welding gloves on. And I reached in and I got this kitten. And I took a towel and I burritoed the kitten so his little face would stick out of the end of the towel. And I held him for quite a while. And then after a while, I could feed him with an eyedropper. I fed him pet milk with an eyedropper. And this went on for a couple weeks, and I was able to get this kitten to kind of get used to us. But it was growing and growing and growing. It was growing really fast. Now, I asked the girls, what should we name this kitten? It was a boy, and they liked names like that were about peppers and restaurants. We had a black cat named Shaky, and so they came up with the name Chili. So this kitten was now named Chili. Sabrina gave an additional name, middle name for the kitten. She said Bob. So Chili Bob. But we just called him Chili. So Chili grew at a rapid rate, and we noticed his paws were huge, his teeth were getting really big, his legs were getting really long, and as a kitten, he was able to stand on the floor and reach and grab meat off of our countertop, which was 36 inches high. We thought, this is really different. What is this thing? So we really started to wonder about this cat because it was so unusual compared to any other cat I've had. It had huge paws. It was very big. In fact, he topped out at 18 pounds, which the average domestic cat tops out at about 10 to 12, except for your other breeds like Maine Coon and all that. But Chili's not a Maine Coon. There's nothing about him that resembles that. So we're looking at him like, we just started wondering, like, is he part Bobcat? And I looked it up online, and the experts say it's never been proven that's happened. So a lot of people, they'll get their information from the internet and they'll say, oh, it's not possible because it's not that they know. It's just that they read something and that now they're an expert on it. But there are other experts that were kind of doubtful that it couldn't happen because there have been many cases where some different species from the same family were able to crossbreed. And I'm talking about different types of dogs, different types of cats, different types of horses. So we just started wondering. Now, I'm not trying to claim he's part Bobcat, but he really has made us and other people who've seen him wonder, like, what the heck is this? Now, he's got a bobtail. He's got really long legs. His back legs are bigger than his front legs, and he kind of has a taper when he walks. And he has huge paws. Here's a picture of his paws next to our regular domestic cat in the snow. This is in his enclosure. And these paws are really big. And then he has slightly tufted ears, not extreme, but he's got like little tufts sticking off the tips of his ears. His teeth are really thick. Here is a number 2 pencil in his mouth, and his teeth at the base of them are as thick as the pencil. And I've never had a cat with such big teeth. The other thing about him was he has this talon sticking out of the side of his leg. Now, when he was younger, I seen him leap up and he hooked a bird right out of the air with this talon. And I'd never seen a talon stick out from a cat constantly like this. Another thing that was really unusual about him was his fur was not the same as a regular cat. A regular cat, most of them that I've ever seen or petted, they have kind of real soft fur. Chili's fur is really thick and it's really coarse. He has what's called guard hairs. Now, guard hairs are something that are found mostly on wild animals like raccoons, wolves. What happens with guard hairs is the guard hairs are coarse and they stick above the undercoating. So the undercoating fur is to regulate temperature and things like that. And then the guard hairs are good for environmental factors such as rain, snow, dirt, all that kind of stuff. So his fur is really similar to a bobcat. In fact, here is a close-up of an actual lynx fur, and Chili's fur is exactly the same thickness as this lynx. And we thought, okay, this is bizarre, but it's about to get weirder. So another unusual thing he does is he does not like tap water. He only likes to drink rainwater. So I've gathered rainwater in 5-gallon buckets, and he does not want to drink out of his water dish. He only wants to drink out of these 5-gallon buckets, which he towers over them. So Chili really got big really fast, and we started having problems sleeping at night because Chili would come in the dark and he was really heavy and he'd jump right on our chest. And it felt like someone knocked the wind out of you. And sometimes it felt like he was doing CPR on you, like you're literally having chest compressions done on you. And not to mention the claws, so we found out we can't have him inside. It's not possible. We can't sleep. So because Chili wasn't able to be inside with us at night because we couldn't sleep, I decided to extend the outdoor cat enclosure and give him lots of space. So I created a series of tunnels, towers, and all kinds of stuff that wrapped around bushes, had logs in. And then at the very end, more than 100 feet away from the house, I took a carport frame and I built a huge enclosure with a walk-in door for myself, and I enclosed this with chicken wire. I had to make the tunnels taller than the other tunnels for the other cats because he's a tall cat. And in fact, the cat door that he goes in and out of is not actually a cat door. I had to get a small dog door. So he goes in and out of that. So Chili was able to be outside in the enclosure at night and not have any wild animal be able to get him. So I made a house for Chili by repurposing an old chest freezer. I cut 2 doors in it. He can go in and out either door. I put a bed inside, kind of like a bunk bed, a loft. And then I was able to put his food in there and his water. So Chili really enjoyed his enclosure. He had a tower in there he can go up on. He can jump around on these big, huge logs. And he had a really secure place to spend the night and sleep. Now, another unusual thing about Chili was he would drag his food dish out and he would eat part of it, and then he would gather sticks and rocks and pile them on his food dish and put dirt on it. And we thought that's pretty weird. Now, at first, it was kind of annoying that he was burying his food, so I would have to get him a fresh batch of food. And I'd come back and there'd be other rocks and more sticks and more dirt piled on his food. And I thought, this is really weird. So the only time I've ever seen this before was there's a canyon down the road, and sometimes mountain lion kill deer and they eat part of the deer and then they'll pile branches and sticks and dirt and rocks on the deer. So I'll go and I'll see this half buried deer. That's the only time I'd ever seen this. So now here we got this cat who's piling things on his food. The other thing about Chili was we figured out right away he really hates cat food. He hates the dry food and he really hates canned food. He thinks it's really crappy. And the only thing he was absolutely berserk about was meat. And if we would prepare meat or anything like that, it's like we have to protect it because he's flying at it. And so I was talking with my uncle who ran a petting zoo up in South Dakota, and he was pitching the idea that, these wildcat rescues for tigers and mountain lions, all this stuff, they feed their cats just red meat, like raw, bloody red meat. And he thought maybe you should try it with Chili. And so we started feeding him red meat every single day, and he loves it. He is crazy about meat. Even up till now, I've had to feed Chili bloody red meat. And if I don't give it to him, he comes up to me, meat? I mean, his meow sounded like he's saying meat. It was so weird. And he doesn't let me not give him meat. Like I can't go anywhere without him just coming at me. Meat. This got kind of expensive. So what I do is I wait till the store has meat on sale, and then they either cube it or I cube it at home, and then I put it in little Ziploc bags. So I thaw 1 bag of meat at a time, and then give him it. And it's got to be really red and really bloody, because if it's not bloody and it kind of turns gray or brown, he won't touch it. He hates it. Now, there's people out there that try to make their cat or dog into a vegetarian. I think that's kind of weird. Naturally, they want to eat some meat. They need the protein. And this cat really needs meat. I mean, he tells you what he needs. To me, that's natural. So one day we heard a really loud commotion outside, and Chili came bursting in the house. And when I took a look at him, he had this big old wound on his face, and he had two puncture wounds right here. And I thought, oh boy, this is not good. So my daughter Sabrina went outside really quick, and she heard the buzzing of a rattlesnake. It was in Chili's enclosure right off the porch, and it quickly slithered under our porch. So I wanted to identify this snake, and I wanted to figure out what it was and eliminate the threat to our family. So Sabrina and I crawled under the porch on our hands and knees in the dirt. She held the flashlight. I was looking for the rattlesnake, but by this time it stopped rattling. We didn't know where it was. It was really creepy. We had a rattlesnake under there with us, and there was a lot of spiders coming down off their cobwebs at us, and that was really creepy. But she was shining the flashlight, and we just couldn't figure out where this thing was. And all of a sudden, she spotted it, and it was standing on its tail, leaning up against the porch wood, and it was looking at us. And so I was able to get the rattlesnake, eliminate the threat. Here's a picture of the rattlesnake that bit Chili right on the face. So rattlesnake bites to pets are pretty common out here. And I've not known a single pet that has survived a rattlesnake bite. Even the ones that were taken an hour away to the vet to get antivenom, they still died. So we all kind of have an understanding, if our pet gets bit by a rattlesnake, it's going to die. And I had a sinking feeling my cat is going to die. So Chili didn't look too good. He looked really lethargic, kind of like he had a fever. He was just laying on his side. He could barely open his eyes and look at me, and his head was starting to swell up. And I knew that he was probably going to die. So the next day, Chili looked even worse. He just was so swollen. He was very unresponsive. And it also happened to be Sabrina's high school graduation that day. So we had to leave. So I took Chili's body into the bathroom, and I laid him on our bath mat. And we went to Sabrina's graduation. We were gone for several hours. We came back, and Chili hadn't even moved at all. He was just as lifeless as you can be. And because it was Sabrina's graduation, we were going to have cake and everything. I thought, I better put Chili in a much more peaceful place. So I carried him down to the enclosure and put him in his bed in that freezer house. And I cried a little bit and said a prayer for him and went back to the house. Now that night I knew that I was going to be digging a grave in the morning. So I was thinking about where I'm going to do that and thinking about that. And I just felt so terrible. So the next day I was really dreading going down to the enclosure and checking on Chili. I knew he'd be dead. So I went down there, and I was really surprised because I saw this little black figure animal hobbling around in the enclosure, and it was Chili. And his face had exploded, and all this liquid had poured down the front of him, and his arms were wet and everything. And he was kind of like half glad to see me. And I thought, Chili, you're alive. So the next couple weeks were spent nursing Chili back to health again. His fur and his skin had come off, and he had this big bald spot, and he had the two puncture wounds where the rattlesnake fangs went into him. We used a lot of antibiotic spray and kept him from scratching his face, and he ended up making a full recovery. So we were amazed our cat actually survived a brutal attack to the face by a rattlesnake. Now, a little bit later, Chili's going to pay back the favor. So one morning I went down to the enclosure to give Chili some food he can kind of tolerate, and he didn't greet me like normal. He kept staring at something, and I was just busy putting some food in his dish, and he just kept looking at something. I'm like, what are you looking at? And right next to my foot and my ankle was a very large rattlesnake. It was 5 foot. That's big for Arizona. Um, it was coiled but not rattling. It was just there, and it was cool in the morning, so it wasn't moving quite as fast. But if it wasn't for Chili pointing this thing out, I would have probably been bit. Now you're probably thinking the rattlesnake is minding its own business, but if Chili didn't point this thing out, I would have probably been bit because I didn't even see it. And if I step on it, it's going to bite me. That's just what they do. So thanks to Chili, I didn't get bit by a rattlesnake that day. So to this day, Chili's a part of our family. We've gotten used to how different he is. We have to be careful when we're eating, especially chicken or ribs or something like that, because he'll run off with them. He wants them. And the other thing he does is he will get above my head and he'll lick my head with that long, raspy tongue and about rip the skin off of my scalp. So when I'm laying on the recliner, he sometimes gets up on my chest, and you can tell he's there because he's really heavy and you're trying to breathe. But generally, he moves down to my legs. He'll sleep on my legs, and then it's really hard to go somewhere because you got this big, huge cat on your legs. So once again, I'm not trying to claim that Chili's half bobcat, but we still wonder. His physical characteristics are almost halfway between a domestic cat and a bobcat. His bobtail isn't even a normal bobtail. It's like halfway between. Now, we've actually tried to get Chili DNA tested, but pretty much all the places that do a DNA test for your cat, they only check for what type of cat breed he is. They don't check for any wild cats like bobcats. So we haven't really figured out how to do that, but it'd be kind of fun, and I wouldn't mind knowing either way. He's not part bobcat or he is. And if he is, he's going to be a one of a kind, which is really cool. So for those of you who immediately say, no, bobcats can't mate with domestic cats, I read it online. I have one thing to say, and it actually comes from the movie Jurassic Park. I just wonder if in this case, life finds a way. And what if Chili is a 1 in a million cat? You be the judge, but I want to hear your comments. I want to know what you guys think. So if you thought this video was interesting and kind of fun, go ahead and hit the like button. Chili would like that. If you like Chili, hit the like button. And until next time, catch you guys later.